The pregnancy test had 2 pink lines, but it wasn't for me. I found it in Joan's purse while looking for my car keys, stuck between her makeup and a packet of pills I'd never seen before. The test was positive. The pills were morning after pills. And the appointment card clipped behind them was for an abortion clinic, dated 3 weeks ago. We'd been trying for a baby for 15 years, or so I thought. Let me go back to how it all started. Austin, you know I want kids too, Joan said for the 100th time, stirring sugar into her tea. But let's be smart about this. Let me get my promotion first. We were sitting in our small apartment in Victoria Island. I had just finished my degree and landed a decent job at a marketing firm. Joan worked at Sterling Bank as a junior officer. She was 24, I was 26. We'd been married for 2 years. Baby, we've talked about this already, I said, reaching across the table to hold her hand. We can manage. My salary alone can take care of us. She pulled her hand away. Austin, please, just give me 2 years. When I become a senior officer, we'll start trying. I promise. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. We loved each other. At least I loved her with everything I had. 2 years became 5. 5 became 10. The regional manager position just opened up, Joan said one evening in 2019. She was pacing around our new 3-bedroom flat in Ikoyi, the one her salary had helped us afford. If I get this, Austin, we'll be set. Then we can have as many kids as you want. Joan, I said quietly, you said the same thing about the senior officer role, and the assistant manager role, and the branch manager role. She stopped pacing and looked at me. Are you saying I shouldn't take opportunities when they come? No, I'm saying maybe we can do both. You're 34 now. I'm 36. We're not getting younger. Her face softened. She came over and sat on my lap. Baby, I know. Just this one last promotion, okay? Regional manager is a big deal. After that, no more excuses. I wrapped my arms around her. She smelled like expensive perfume, the kind her new salary could afford. Promise? Promise. Another 5 years passed. Joan got her promotion, then another one. By 2024, she was an executive director. She drove a Range Rover, wore designer clothes, and traveled to Dubai twice a year for conferences. Meanwhile, I was still at the same marketing firm, making decent money, but nothing close to what she earned. Not that I cared. I just wanted a family. Joan, we need to talk, I said one Saturday morning. She was getting ready for another work trip. Can it wait? My flight leaves in 3 hours. No, it can't wait. We've been married for 17 years. You've gotten every promotion you wanted. When are we having kids? She sighed and put down her makeup brush. Austin, we've been through this. Have we? Because every time I bring it up, you have another excuse. First it was senior officer, then manager, then regional manager, then general manager, now executive director. What's next? CEO. She turned around, her eyes flashing. Maybe CEO? Yes. What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with ambition, Joan. But what about us? What about the family we planned? We can adopt, she said, going back to her makeup. There are so many children who need homes. I felt like someone had slapped me. Adopt? Joan, you promised me biological children. We agreed. People change, Austin. Priorities change. I'm 40 now. Pregnancy at this age is risky. You've been saying you're too young, too busy, too focused on work. Now you're saying you're too old? She slammed her lipstick on the dresser. Austin, I'm tired of this conversation. We'll adopt or we won't have kids at all. Those are your options. She grabbed her suitcase and walked out. I spent that weekend alone, thinking. Maybe she was right. Maybe adoption was the answer. By the time she came back from her trip, I had made up my mind. Okay, I told her. Let's adopt. Her face lit up. Really? Oh, Austin, thank you. I'll start looking into agencies on Monday. For the first time in years, she seemed genuinely excited about having a child. It gave me hope. But weeks passed, and she didn't mention the adoption agencies. When I brought it up, she'd say she was still researching or waiting for the right time. 1 month became 3. 3 became 6. Joan, have you contacted any agencies yet? I'm still looking into it, Austin. These things take time. How much time does it take to make a phone call? She looked annoyed. Austin, please. I'm handling it. But she wasn't handling it. She was avoiding it. The truth came to me in pieces, like a puzzle I didn't want to solve. First, there were the late nights. Joan had always worked hard, but now she was coming home at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., sometimes midnight. "Big project," she'd say, kissing my cheek quickly before heading to the shower. Then there were the phone calls. She'd step outside to take certain calls or lock herself in the bedroom. "Just work stuff," she'd explain when I asked. The business trips increased too. Lagos to Abuja, Lagos to Port Harcourt, Lagos to London, always for important meetings with senior management. I tried not to think too much about it. Joan had a demanding job. I understood that. But then came the night that changed. It was a Wednesday in October. Joan said she was working late again. I decided to surprise her with dinner at her office. I drove to the Sterling Bank Tower on Victoria Island with a bag of her favorite jollof rice from Buka Hut. The security guard knew me. "Good evening, Mr. Austin. Mrs. Joan left around 6 p.m. My heart skipped. "Are you sure? She said she was working late." "Yes, sir. She left with Mr. Davidson, the managing director. They had a dinner meeting." I thanked him and walked back to my car, confused. Why would Joan lie about working late if she was at a business dinner? I called her phone. It rang several times before she answered. "Hello, baby." Her voice sounded breathless. "Hi, I'm at your office with food. The security guard said you left." There was a pause. "Oh, yes, I'm at a dinner meeting. Business thing. Very boring." In the background, I could hear music. Soft jazz. Not the kind of music you'd hear at a business dinner. "Where are you?" "Federal Palace Hotel. Conference room. Look, I have to go. The presentation is starting." She hung up. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, staring at my phone. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I decided to drive to Federal Palace Hotel. The hotel lobby was busy with the usual mix of business people and tourists. I asked the receptionist about Sterling Bank meetings. "No, sir. No corporate events tonight. But the restaurant is open if you're looking for dinner." My chest tightened. I walked toward the restaurant and scanned the room. In a corner booth, I saw Joan. She was laughing, her hand on the arm of a man in an expensive suit. Their heads were close together, intimate. It was Mr. Davidson, the managing director she'd mentioned many times. He was in his 50s, married with 3 kids. I watched them for 5 minutes. The way she touched his face, the way he kissed her hand. This wasn't business. I left before they could see me. I drove around Lagos Island for 2 hours, trying to process what I'd seen. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe it was still business, just conducted in a relaxed way. By the time I got home, I had almost convinced myself I was overreacting. Joan came home around midnight. "How was the meeting?" I asked. "Boring. PowerPoints and budget discussions. You know how it is." She was wearing new earrings, diamond studs that I hadn't seen before. "Nice earrings." She touched them quickly. "Oh, these? Company gift. We all got them today." I nodded, but doubt was growing in my stomach like a tumor. Over the next few weeks, I started paying attention to details I'd previously ignored. Joan's wardrobe had improved dramatically, not just 1 or 2 new pieces, but entirely new looks. Designer handbags, expensive shoes, jewelry that cost more than my monthly salary. "Work bonuses," she'd explain when I complimented something new. Her phone habits changed too. She used to leave it lying around casually. Now she kept it with her always, even taking it to the bathroom. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message. The screen lit up enough for me to see the sender's name. MD, Managing Director. Mr. Davidson. The message preview showed, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place." I quickly looked away, my hands shaking. I wanted to confront her immediately, but something held me back. Maybe it was cowardice. Maybe it was the hope that I was wrong. Instead, I decided to investigate quietly. The next morning, after Joan left for work, I went through our apartment systematically. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I needed to know the truth. In her closet, behind her shoeboxes, I found a small travel bag I'd never seen before. Inside were things that made my blood run cold. Lingerie, expensive, sexy underwear that she'd never worn for me, a silk nightgown with the tag still on it, a receipt from La Mango Boutique for $150,000 worth of intimate apparel. At the bottom of the bag was a phone, a second phone. I turned it on. The screensaver was a photo of Joan and Mr. Davidson at what looked like a hotel room. They were both naked from the waist up, his arms around her. My legs gave out. I sat on the closet floor, staring at the phone. The message history told a story that destroyed 15 years of my life in 15 minutes. The messages went back 2 years. 2 years of, I love you and can't wait to touch you, and my wife doesn't understand me like you do. But it wasn't just Mr. Davidson. There were other names in the phone. Other men. Mr. James from the Central Bank. Mr. Kola from the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Emeka from Zenith Bank. All of them senior to Joan. All of them married. All of them promising career advancement in exchange for sex. I scrolled through months of conversations, each one making me sicker than the last. Davidson, the regional manager position is yours if you keep me happy. You know I will. Tonight? My usual suite. Wear the red thing I bought you. James, I talked to the governor. Your promotion is approved. Thank you, baby. What time should I come over? Emeka. Board meeting went well. You're the new executive director. I'm so excited! Dinner celebration? But the worst was yet to come. In a folder labeled medical, I found photos of pregnancy tests, positive pregnancy tests, dating back 3 years. There were also photos of medical receipts, abortion clinic receipts. Joan had been getting pregnant by these men and terminating the pregnancies, while telling me she wasn't ready for kids. One conversation from 6 months ago made me vomit. Davidson, the test is positive? Yes, I'm taking care of it tomorrow. Good. Can't have complications now. Not when you're so close to executive director. Don't worry, I've done this before. I know. That's why I love you. You're smart. I sat on the bathroom floor for an hour, crying like a child. 15 years. 15 years of believing my wife when she said she wanted kids, but needed to focus on her career first. 15 years of patience and understanding and support. She had been getting pregnant by other men and killing their babies while refusing to have mine. The woman I loved, the woman I'd given everything to, had been living a double life that made a mockery of our marriage. I thought about all the times I'd defended her to my family when they asked why we didn't have children yet. Joan is building her career. I'd say proudly. She'll be an amazing mother when she's ready. I thought about all the times I'd held her when she cried about work stress, not knowing she was crying because she was juggling multiple affairs. I thought about all the money I'd saved to buy her gifts while she was receiving expensive presents from men who were using her body. But mostly, I thought about the children. The children she'd killed. The children we could have had. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. I needed time to think about what to do next. For the rest of that day, I moved around like a zombie. When Joan came home with another new handbag and a story about a difficult day at the office, I just nodded and smiled. Are you okay, baby? She asked during dinner. You seem quiet. Just tired, I said. She reached across the table and held my hand. You work too hard, Austin. Maybe you should take a vacation. The same hand that had touched Mr. Davidson. The same hand that had held positive pregnancy tests before throwing them away. I excused myself and went to the bathroom to throw up. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife, staring at the ceiling. She was sleeping peacefully, probably dreaming about her next promotion or her next affair. I wanted to wake her up and scream. I wanted to throw all the evidence in her face and demand explanations, but I also wanted to give her a chance to come clean. Maybe if I approached this carefully, we could still save our marriage. So the next morning, I tried one more time. Joan, I've been thinking about what you said about adoption. She looked up from her phone. What about it? Well, we've been talking about it for months now, but nothing's happened. Maybe we should make it official. Set a timeline. She sighed. Austin, I'm really busy right now with the new role. Can we discuss this later? Later when? Joan, you said you wanted kids. You promised me biological children for 10 years, then you agreed to adoption. Now you won't even discuss adoption. What's going on? She put down her phone and looked annoyed. Nothing's going on. I'm not sure I'm ready for the responsibility of a child right now. You're not ready for the responsibility? Joan, you're 40 years old. You're an executive director. When will you be ready? I don't know, Austin. Maybe never. Maybe I don't want kids anymore. The casual way she said it broke something inside me. So all those years of promising me children were lies? They weren't lies. I thought I wanted kids. Now I don't. People change. People change? Joan, having children was a fundamental part of our marriage plan. We talked about names, we talked about schools, we talked about how many kids we wanted. She stood up, clearly irritated. Austin, I can't give you children if I don't want them. What do you want me to do? Have kids I'll resent? I want you to be honest with me. The words came out louder than I intended. She stared at me, shocked. Honest about what? This was my moment. I could confront her with everything I'd found. I could end this charade right now. Instead, I looked at her face. Still beautiful, still the face I'd fallen in love with 17 years ago, and I couldn't do it. Nothing, I said quietly. Forget it. She relaxed. Look, Austin, maybe we should see a marriage counselor. Talk through this properly. I almost laughed. A marriage counselor, to discuss the marriage that existed only in my imagination. Sure, I said. Let's do that. But we never made it to a marriage counselor. 3 days later, Joan came home with news that destroyed any remaining hope I had. I'm being transferred, she said, practically glowing with excitement. Zenith Bank offered me a position as group managing director. It's a huge opportunity, Austin. We'd have to move to Abuja, but the salary is incredible. Zenith Bank. Mr. Emeka's bank, the man whose name was all over her secret phone. When? Next month. I know it's sudden, but... And what about us? What about our marriage? She looked confused. What do you mean? You'll come with me, of course. You can find another job in Abuja. Joan, I've been at my company for 15 years. I'm about to be promoted to creative director. You want me to throw that away so you can chase another promotion? Austin, this is Group MD. Do you know what that means? I'll be one of the most powerful women in Nigerian banking. And I'll be what? Your house husband following you around the country? Her face hardened. I thought you supported my career. I do support your career. I've supported it for 15 years while putting my own dreams on hold. But there has to be balance, Joan. There has to be room for us. Us? Austin? What us? We barely talk anymore. We never go out. We don't even have sex regularly. That last part stung because it was true. Our sex life had died slowly over the years. Now I knew why. She was getting satisfied elsewhere. Maybe we don't talk because you're never home. Maybe we don't go out because you're always traveling. And maybe we don't have sex because you're too busy having it with other people. I said the last part without thinking. It just slipped out. Joan froze. What did you say? My heart was pounding. Nothing. No, you said something about other people. What did you mean? This was it. The moment of truth I'd been avoiding. Joan, I know. Know what? I know about Davidson. I know about James. I know about Emeka. I know about all of them. The color drained from her face. For a full minute, she just stared at me. Then she sat down heavily on the sofa. How long have you known? Her voice was barely a whisper. Long enough. She started crying. Not the elegant tears of a guilty woman caught cheating, but ugly, desperate sobs. Austin, I can explain. Explain what? Explain how you've been sleeping with your bosses for promotions, while telling me you're too focused on career to have kids. Explain how you've been getting pregnant by these men, and having abortions while refusing to have my children. She looked up sharply. How do you know about the pregnancies? I found your other phone. She put her head in her hands. Oh, God. We sat in silence for 10 minutes. Joan crying, me staring at the wall, wondering how my life had become this disaster. Finally, she looked up. Austin, I never meant for this to happen. Which part? The cheating or the lying or the abortions? Any of it. All of it. All of it. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. It started innocently. Davidson invited me to dinner to discuss my promotion. Nothing happened that first time. But then he started suggesting things. Suggesting things? He said I was beautiful, that I was smart, but that he could help my career if I was nice to him. And you were nice to him. She nodded miserably. Just once, I thought. Just to get the promotion. Then I could focus on us, on having kids. But it wasn't just once. No. He wanted more. And then James started making the same suggestions. And Emeka. Before I knew it, I was trapped in this web. Trapped? Joan. You had choices. You could have said no. You don't understand, Austin. In that world, if you say no to the wrong person, your career is over. They have so much power. So you chose your career over our marriage. I chose survival. I chose the life I wanted to give us. By having abortions, her face crumpled again. I couldn't have their children, Austin. Can you imagine the complications? The scandals? But you could refuse to have mine. That's different. How is it different? Because, she struggled for words, because with you, I could control the timing. With there was accidents. Accidents? Joan, you've had at least 4 abortions according to your phone. 4 accidents? She didn't answer. And all this time, you've been telling me you're not ready for kids. You've been taking birth control pills to avoid getting pregnant with me while having unprotected sex with your bosses. Austin, please what? Please forgive you. Please pretend this never happened. Please move to Abuja so you can continue your affair with Emeka. She looked shocked. How did you? The Zenith Bank job offer. It's not about your qualifications, is it? It's because Emeka wants to keep you close. She couldn't meet my eyes. I stood up. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to think. Where are you going? Joan asked. Out. Austin, we need to talk about this. We need to figure out how to fix this. I turned around at the door. Fix this? Joan, you've been living a lie for years. You've been selling your body for promotions while refusing to give me the one thing I wanted most in life. You've killed 4 babies while telling me you're not ready to be a mother. What exactly do you think can be fixed? I love you, Austin. I've always loved you. No, you don't. You love what I represent, the stable husband at home while you play corporate prostitute with your bosses. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I've spent 15 years supporting your dreams while you destroyed mine? Is it fair that I defended you to my family when they questioned why we didn't have kids? Is it fair that I saved money to buy you gifts while you were receiving jewelry from men you were sleeping with? I was shouting now, all the rage and hurt pouring out. I gave you everything, Joan. Everything. My love, my support, my patience, my dreams. And you gave me nothing but lies. I left the apartment and drove aimlessly around Lagos for hours. Eventually, I found myself at Bar Beach, sitting on the sand in the dark, watching the waves. My phone buzzed with messages from Joan. Austin, please come home. We can work this out. I know I made mistakes, but I love you. Please don't give up on us. I turned off the phone. A couple walked past, holding hands, the woman visibly pregnant. They looked happy, excited about their future child. Everything Joan and I should have been. I sat there until sunrise, thinking about my options. I could forgive her, try to rebuild our marriage from the ground up, move to Abuja and start fresh. But how do you forgive someone for stealing 15 years of your life? How do you rebuild trust when it's been shattered so completely? More importantly, how do you get past the knowledge that your wife killed 4 babies while refusing to have yours? I went home around 7 a.m. Joan was still awake, sitting on the sofa in the same clothes from yesterday. Austin, thank God. I was so worried. I need you to answer some questions honestly. She nodded eagerly. Anything. How many men? What? How many men have you slept with for career advancement? She hesitated. Austin, I don't think. How many? 7. 7. Over the course of our marriage, she'd had sexual relationships with 7 different men. How many pregnancies? 4. So did you ever use protection? Sometimes. Not always. Were you ever going to tell me? I hoped you'd never have to know. Were you planning to continue the affairs in Abuja? Another hesitation. Austin, the Zenith Bank job is legitimate. I'm qualified. That's not what I asked. Emeka expects certain things, but maybe after I get settled, I can find a way to end it. Maybe. After she got settled. In other words, she planned to continue sleeping with him at least initially. And kids? Were you ever going to give me children? This was the question that mattered most. Everything else could theoretically be forgiven, but this was about the future we'd planned together. Joan was quiet for a long time. I don't know, she finally said. I really don't know, Austin. The idea of pregnancy terrifies me now. After the abortions, I'm not sure I could go through with it. There it was, the truth I'd been dreading. She wasn't just refusing to have kids because of her career. She was psychologically unable to have them because of what she'd done. I want a divorce, I said. The words came out calmly, without emotion. Joan's face went white. Austin, no. Please, we can work through this. How? Tell me exactly how we work through 15 years of lies and betrayal. Counseling, therapy. I can quit my job. We can move somewhere new and start over. Joan, you've been having affairs with 7 different men. You've had 4 abortions. You've been lying to me about wanting children for over a decade. You've built your entire career on sex instead of merit. What exactly would we be starting over with? Our love. Austin, I know I've made terrible mistakes, but I love you. I've always loved you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done any of this. I was weak. I was scared. I made bad choices because I wanted to give us a good life. You mean you wanted to give yourself a good life? Joan, everything you did was selfish. The affairs, the lies, even the abortions, they were all about protecting yourself and your career. She started crying again. Austin, please, I'm begging you. Don't throw away 17 years of marriage. I'm not throwing it away. You already did that. The divorce process took 8 months. Joan fought it initially, then tried to negotiate for a reconciliation, then finally accepted it when she realized I wasn't changing my mind. She moved to Abuja for the Zenith Bank job. I heard through mutual friends that she and Emeka were living together openly now. Apparently, his wife found out about the affair and left him too. I stayed in Lagos, got my promotion to creative director, and tried to rebuild my life. The hardest part wasn't the loneliness or the financial adjustment of living on one income. The hardest part was the dreams. I still dreamed about children, about the family Joan and I had planned, about little voices calling me daddy and soccer games on weekends and bedtime stories. I was 41 years old, still young enough to remarry and have kids, but old enough to know that starting over wasn't simple. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Joan called me. Austin, I need to tell you something. Her voice sounded different, tired, older. What is it? I'm pregnant. My heart stopped. Whose? Amika's. But Austin, I'm keeping this one. I'm going to be a mother. The irony was so bitter, I almost laughed. After 15 years of refusing to have my children, she was finally ready to be a mother, for another man. Congratulations, I managed to say. Austin, I know this must hurt, but I wanted you to hear it from me. Why are you telling me this, Joan? Because I realized something. When I saw those 2 pink lines, I wasn't scared this time. I was happy. And I understood that all those years, it wasn't about my career or the timing or being ready. It was about us. What do you mean? I mean our marriage was already dead, Austin. It had been dead for years. I just didn't want to admit it. The affairs, the lies, even the abortions, they were symptoms of something bigger. I had fallen out of love with you, but I was too comfortable and too scared to leave. Her honesty was like a knife to the chest, but also strangely liberating. So you destroyed our marriage instead of ending it. Yes, and I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry. We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about her pregnancy symptoms, her plans for the future, how Emeka was excited to be a father again at 55. When we hung up, I sat in my apartment, the same apartment we'd shared for 10 years, and finally grieved properly for the marriage that had ended long before I knew it was over. Joan was right about one thing. Our marriage had been dead for years. I'd been trying to resurrect something that no longer existed, but she was wrong about something else. I had loved her, really, truly loved her. That love hadn't been fake or comfortable or convenient. It had been real and deep and complete. She had just been incapable of returning it. 2 years later, I met Sarah at a friend's wedding. She was 34, divorced, with a 7-year-old daughter named Grace. She was a teacher, practical and kind, with none of Joan's ambition or glamour. But when she smiled at me across the reception table, something inside me stirred that I thought Joan had killed forever. Do you want children? I asked her on our 3rd date. It was too early for such a serious question, but I couldn't waste any more time. Yes, she said simply. I'd love to give Grace a sibling. What about your career? She looked confused. What about it? Austin, I'm a teacher. I love my job, but it's not my whole life. Family comes first. We were married 18 months later. Grace walked me down the aisle, holding my hand and grinning like she'd won the lottery. Are you ready to be my daddy? She whispered as we reached the altar. I've been ready my whole life, I whispered back. Our son Michael was born 10 months after our wedding. Holding him for the first time, looking into his tiny face, I understood what Joan had stolen from me. It wasn't just the years. It wasn't just the trust. It was this moment. This overwhelming, transformative love for a child who was part of me. Sarah and I went on to have 2 more children, twin girls named Hope and Faith. Our house is loud and chaotic and wonderful, exactly what I dreamed of with Joan. Sometimes when I'm reading bedtime stories or teaching Michael to ride a bike or helping the girls with homework, I think about Joan. I wonder if she ever regrets the choices she made. I wonder if she's happy with Ameka and their child. Mostly, though, I don't think about her at all. Last month, I ran into Davidson at a banking conference my company was covering. He recognized me immediately. "Austin, how are you? I heard about the divorce. Sorry, man." He didn't look sorry. He looked smug. "I'm doing well," I said. "Remarried, actually. 3 kids." His smile faltered. 3 kids? Wow, that's great. "What about you? Still at Sterling Bank?" "Actually, no. There was a situation. Several situations, actually. I had to resign. I didn't ask for details, but later I heard through the grapevine that several female employees had filed harassment complaints. Davidson's career was over. James had been arrested for corruption. Ameka had been fired from Zenith Bank after his wife sued him for adultery and asset diversion. Joan's career ladder had been built on sand, and it was finally collapsing. I don't feel sorry for any of them. They made their choices, and choices have consequences. But I do feel sorry for the woman Joan could have been, the mother she could have been to our children, the wife she could have been to me. She had everything she needed for happiness, a husband who loved her, financial stability, opportunity, but she chose to gamble it all for power and status and empty achievements. Now she's 45, tied to a man who sees her as a trophy, raising a child who will grow up knowing his parents destroyed 2 families to be together. Meanwhile, I'm home every night for dinner. I coach my son's football team. I help with homework and pack lunches and read bedtime stories. I'm living the life Joan said she wanted, but was never brave enough to choose. Sometimes Sarah asks me about my first marriage. Not often, and never in a jealous way. She's genuinely curious about what went wrong. "Did you love her?" she asked one night after we'd put the kids to bed. "Yes, more than I thought it was possible to love someone." "Do you think she loved you?" I considered the question carefully. I think she loved the idea of me, the security I represented, but she didn't love me enough to choose me over her ambitions. That's sad. It is. But if she had chosen differently, I wouldn't have you and the children. So maybe it worked out the way it was supposed to. Sarah curled up against me. "Do you ever regret the 15 years?" "I regret the lies and the betrayal, but I don't regret loving her." A few months ago, while clearing out the last of our joint storage unit, I found an old photo album tucked between some forgotten files. In it were pictures from our early years. Our wedding, our first apartment in Victoria Island, lazy Sunday mornings when we used to laugh without effort. For a moment, I held the album to my chest and just breathed. I didn't cry. I didn't ache. I simply remembered. Then I wrote Joan a letter. Not to send, just to release. "Joan, we were young and in love. That much I know is true. I believed in us, in you, in forever. But somewhere along the way, you stopped choosing me, and I kept choosing you until it broke me. You lost more than a husband. You lost the version of yourself that knew how to be loyal, how to love fully. And maybe that's the saddest part. I forgive you, Joan, not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry the weight of your choices into the life I'm building now. My children deserve a father who is whole, and my wife deserves a man who isn't haunted. We are not the same people anymore. And that's okay. Goodbye, finally. Austin." I folded it gently and placed it back inside the album before locking it away for good. These days, Grace paints rainbows on the kitchen table, and the twins leave glitter trails wherever they go. Michael calls me champ when I beat him at football, and Sarah tells me every night, "You're everything I prayed for." I am not the man I was with Joan. I am better. I am whole. And I am home.